Well, it is 4 o'clock at the top of the hour, and so I am going to get started with the New York specific webinar related to Get More Math and your end of the year assessment preparation. Thank you for joining us, and we're excited to share what we have with you. There are two ways that we'd like to give teachers access to our platform. One is through a 30-day trial in Get More Math. All teachers have the ability to explore our platform through a 30-day trial, and that gives you full access to everything that we have to offer. In addition to that, we are offering an extension of that 30-day trial into a full year of access, which will allow you to use Get More Math on your campus for all of the 25-26 school year. This gives access to every teacher, as well as all students, completely free. There is a requirement of getting an administrator to approve that relationship. And it's also going to include requirement by the teachers that are participating to complete 3 30-minute trainings. And this is to encourage you to be familiar with all of the features that Get More Math has to offer and to equip you to use Get More Math with confidence. So again, if you are interested in looking at Get More Math a little bit more closely after today's webinar, you can join us through a campus-wide pilot partnership that gives you access for all of the 25-26 school year simply by replying to the email that you'll get with "We want to pilot" in the subject line. Now let's get started with why you joined us. Get More Math has a specific New York collection of skills. And so we're going to share that right at the beginning of the webinar so you can see what we have to offer. After that, I'd like to share with you a little bit about why Get More Math was originally created and then how it works from both the teacher and the student perspective. At the end of the seminar, I will revisit the pilot offer in case anybody has any questions about what to do next. And let's start right away with that NYSA and Regents skill collections. I'm now showing what it looks like when a teacher is logged in to Get More Math. There are 3 tabs at the top of a teacher's screen, and the middle one is the Work tab. And this is where what you came for is highlighted. In grades 3 up through Algebra 2, Get More Math is aligned to the New York State standards. These are the next gen standards, and in every folder you will find the skills directly aligned to those standards. As I mentioned, this is in grade 3 all the way up through Algebra 2. In addition to that, at grade 3 and through grade 8, we also have a collection specific to the New York State assessment. This is at every grade level and has assignments that are pre-built that you can use and Get More Math that are both on grade level and below grade level for your students to practice those particular skills. That is available in Algebra 1 and Geometry and Algebra 2 through our Regents folder. And so again, this is very specific to the New York State system, and we hope that it will provide you and your students with the support that you need to get a successful score on those exams. In addition, there are a lot of New York schools that are currently using the illustrative math program. And so in Algebra 2, Geometry, Algebra 1, and then further down the road, we have illustrative math skill collections for your New York teachers. Each one of these units will include every single lesson and the skills that are associated with those lessons. So you can see that we've put our time and efforts into building some skill collections that are very specific for New York teachers. I'd now like to share with you why Get More Math was created. Josh Britton was an Algebra 1 teacher at a middle school, and on most days he recognized that he was teaching a lesson and then giving his students some class time to practice the material he had taught in that lesson. I was a math teacher as well, and this was exactly how I usually ran my typical classroom. That is on repeat throughout a unit. You teach something new, you give your students the opportunity to practice that new material. Before you give them the test, you typically spend a day reviewing. And for most math teachers, this is the pattern that we follow. We teach and give our students practice unit by unit for an entire year's worth of content. And at the end of that year, they are expected to pass a cumulative end of the year exam, and we hope that we have prepared them very well to succeed. In my own classroom, what I experienced was that typically the end of the year was what my students remembered best. May, April, March, and then the farther back I went, the fuzzier it got for my students. And a lot of my students felt much less than prepared for the end of the year exam. Josh Britton, the creator of Get More Math, also recognized that pattern in his classroom. And he summarizes this by saying that what was working for him in the short term was not necessarily working in the long term. He was hoping to prepare his students for a year's worth of content, and testing and teaching unit by unit was missing something. That is exactly why Get More Math was created, to improve long-term retention for your students. And this is the way that Josh developed our software to do that. We are hoping to empower you as a teacher to improve upon this pattern by incorporating spiral review into every daily assignment. As the teacher, you will still teach a lesson. You will still give your students the opportunity to practice that new material, but you'll now have the opportunity to include prior content in your assignments as well. The way that works is through our software. What we don't do is teach the lesson for you. We are 100% in respecting the value of teachers working with their students. And so Get More Math does not have recorded lessons or videos. Where we will partner with you is in the assignments. Get More Math will provide targeted practice on new skills that you have chosen, and then we will build an individualized spiral review for your students that only includes the skills you've previously taught. As a teacher, you are going to have 100% control of the skills that you share with your students. And as you choose your skills, we will start to build a library for you. And this library will be useful for the rest of the time that you have access to Get More Math. I'm going to pause for a moment because I see Katie putting her beautiful face on the screen. Is it for a particular reason, Katie? No, great. I'm going to keep going. Okay, so once you start to build your lessons on the left-hand side of the screen, teach your lessons, the assignments that you have built will coincide with the content that you teach. So let's just imagine that during Unit 1, you've already covered your first 4 lessons. And today is going to be Lesson 5, and you are teaching least common multiple. On the right-hand side of our skill bank, you will find that content and choose the least common multiple skill. Your next job is to decide the number of questions that your students will practice least common multiple and the number of questions that your students will practice in prior content. As the student, as the teacher, you are responsible for choosing the content of the new material, but Get More Math will choose the content of the spiral review, and it will come directly from your previous lessons. Let's take a look at what that looks like from the student's perspective. The student will see in this new lesson that you have, in this new assignment that you have created, the opportunity to practice those least common multiple problems. In addition to that, they will then also have the opportunity to practice prior content. Each one of these squares in Spiral Review is something that you previously assigned as a targeted skill. The lift on the teacher is to choose the skills that you have taught, and then automatically Get More Math will add that skill to the student's spiral review for the rest of the year. Let's fast forward a little bit. By the time March gets here, you have assigned a lot of practice for your students. There's a lot of colors on this screen. Let me take a moment to explain what they mean. We use color to indicate to both the student and the teacher level of ability. When you first assign a skill within Get More Math, the skill square starts as white. And this is to indicate that we don't yet know how your student is going to do. After at least 3 attempts on that skill, the square will change to either red or yellow. And this is to indicate their level of ability as they progress. This, for teachers, is a built-in exit ticket. The students are going to see that white square change color on their screens. And in just a few moments, I'll show you how the teacher can view the entire class progress. But that's not where we stop with Get More Math. Our secondary goal is to develop proficiency over time. And so as students continue to revisit those skills, they have the opportunity to level up to proficiency and even advanced and mastery. These colors are a level of progress for students, and it's an intrinsic motivator for students to continue to practice and to succeed. Within Get More Math, we use that information to then differentiate each student's practice session. When a student is practicing in spiral review, they can only earn points if they complete skills that have dollar signs on them. You'll notice in the upper left-hand corner, Get More Math is continuing to keep track of the number of points a student has earned. Students can only earn points if they are practicing skills that have been prioritized for them with a dollar sign. We do that with 2 goals. We are hoping that students will learn new material. We are also hoping that students will retain their ability in those new areas. And so the placement of a dollar sign on the skill squares is happening most often on areas of need. We're going to prioritize the skills that are white and red and yellow for each student most often in an effort to build proficiency. But we are also going to revisit areas in which they've already been successful in an effort to prevent them from forgetting how to do those skills. All of that information is then going to be available on the teacher screen as well. We can use a student's ability to dictate what they should practice, but we also can evaluate their progress. That skill that we just provided for your students, least common multiple, before class is even over, you can click on your spiral review and see where all of your students are. The best part about Get More Math is that this is an ongoing metric. At any time in the future, you can revisit this same skill and see where your student's current level of ability is. This, in my mind, I was a teacher that used Get More Math for 5 years. This, in my mind, is so much more powerful than an exam. It is giving you real-time metrics on where your students are, and this particular report is extremely helpful because it allows you to take action immediately. With Jonathan and 11, they clearly need to practice this skill a little bit more. And as a teacher, I would like to provide them with some examples. I don't have to create them on my own. I can use Get More Math to generate them for me. Here's the first example. I click on this arrow. It's going to give me another example, and I can continue to do that. And in the moment, I am now meeting the needs of my student without having to spend tons of time creating an assignment for them. That was my first and most favorite part of Get More Math. But the second part is our assessments feature. Get More Math has 2 goals. We want to improve students' ability and skills through consistent exposure to spiral review, but we also feel that it might be beneficial to build cumulative assessments into what a student's expectation is. And so our software was created with the ability to build cumulative assessments throughout the year. From spiral review in a teacher's account, you can see a running history of every single skill you've ever assigned this school year. You can toggle those skills by the date that they were assigned. And so if you are building a unit test, you can click on the most recent assigned topics and build an exam directly from this screen. The real beauty comes in the also deeper ability to go back to previously taught concepts. You can add any previously taught concepts to your exam directly from this screen. In addition to that, you can view your students' proficiency levels also from this same screen. And so if you are looking to include content that your students are actually prepared for, this is a great way to do that. Let's take a look at what a teacher's actual exam creation looks like. This is an example of an attempt at a cumulative exam where I've included some new material, but also revisited some old concepts. This is a 20 problem exam that I've created, and from the student's perspective, they will take the exam and turn it in. I'm now seeing the exam that's been turned in by my student, Carol Marshall, from my teacher screen. The beauty of Get More Math, especially for a teacher who is feeling overloaded, is that we automatically grade it for you. We allow you to see the exact answers that a student has given, and we also give you override capabilities in grading if you need to. All of that was amazing for me as a teacher, but my favorite part was what happens when you click on Save Grade. When you click on Save Grade, Get More Math automatically generates a corrections assignment for every student. They are asked to fix the exact mistakes that they made on the exam that they took, and then they are given additional practice on those mistakes. This is automatically created for you by the software, and it is individualized for every student based on the skills that they missed on the exam. If that's not enough, we also then create a follow-up exam for you. Before Get More Math, I was creating my own follow-up exams, which meant I also had to create follow-up exam answer keys. This follow-up exam is automatically created for you. It's individualized for every student, and it only includes the skills that they missed on the exam. Again, because it's digital, it is automatically graded, and this is an excellent way for you to be able to show growth for your students. I will tell you that prior to using Get More Math, my follow-up exam results were not always what I had hoped for. But because of that in-between part where students are now required to prepare for a follow-up exam scores can be a much better experience for both you as the teacher grading them and for the student taking them. I think we've covered the NYSA and Regents skill collections, why Get More Math was created, a little bit about how it works. So I would like to revisit our pilot offer. If you would like to move forward, remember that our pilot offer is going to give you access for all of the 25-26 school year completely for free. It's an offer for all teachers and all students. Your job is to identify an administrator who would serve as the pilot supervisor. This administrator would need to submit a staff roster to us of the teachers that are participating and decide whether the training format will be live Zoom sessions or recorded videos. We'd also like to meet with that supervisor 2 to 3 times throughout this pilot year to evaluate progress and provide feedback. The training system that we use requires teachers to complete 3 30-minute trainings. As I mentioned, they can be live Zoom sessions or recorded videos, and completion of each training extends access. So it is a requirement for participation in the pilot. If this sounds of interest to you, you will have an email in your inbox within the next few hours. It will look similar to this, not exactly, but it will have a demo recording in it that you can forward directly to your administrator that you are hoping will approve this pilot. It will also include the opportunity for you to create a teacher account for 30 days, and you can share this with other teachers as well. I said that this was going to be a 30-minute demo. It is not. It's only 20 minutes, and I've already covered the majority of what I'd like to. So I'm going to save these last 10 minutes for any questions that you might have. I do want to remind you that we are skills standards aligned in New York for the next generation standards, and we do have those skill collections that are specific to not only illustrative, but also to the Regents and the NYSA exams. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to stop talking now and take any feedback or questions that you might have.
I do have one question. Can the
Yeah.
assignments be locked so the kids can only access them during class time?
They can't be locked, but for assignments in particular, you do have the ability to turn them on and off. So like right now, I have all of my assignments unavailable. And so if a student logged into Get More Math right now, they would only be able to work in Spiral Review, which is fabulous. You always want them practicing in Spiral Review. So you can restrict when they can access assignments, but access to Get More Math in general is not something that you can restrict.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, if there are no more questions, I'm going to just say thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time. Um, you are in NYS. Um, we do have, I don't want to say that we have a contract. Katie, you're probably even better on the words on this one. We are, let me say it this way. We are 2D compliant. And so if you have a particular privacy policy that you need us to sign, we can review that. But we don't necessarily have a contract that we require schools to sign. You're welcome. All right. Well, then I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate having both of you here. And you will get an email. We got to download this recording and do all the things before we can send it to you. So you will have an email from me probably within the next 3 or 4 hours that you can then take action on and share with your team if you'd like to move forward. Thanks so much for joining us today.